What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel, and our 2023 conference standing/conference championship predictions continue for the 2023 college football season. It's time now to do the Pac-12 conference, and I've already done the 4 other conferences here for my conference standing/conference championship predictions. You can go back and watch those videos. I've done the SEC, I've done the ACC, Big 10, and Big 12 from yesterday. Now we're going to give you the Pac-12, and how this video works, we're going to give you the standings based off of those predictions that we done since the month of May, and then we completed them last week, and we're going to give you the standings, what the standings would look like based on my predictions for the 2023 college football season. Looking at the Pac-12 this year, I kind of expect it to be a really competitive conference this season. It's been competitive now for the last couple years. It was definitely wide open last year. You had 6 teams really challenging to get to the Pac-12 championship from last season. I think this year is just going to be really more competitive than it was from last season. So let's get right into it here with my standings, and we'll start from the bottom and work our way to the top. And also, we're going to give you a conference championship prediction as well at the end of this video. So we'll start from the bottom and work our way to the top. We start from 8 through 12. I got Stanford here at number 12, going 2-10 and 0-9 in the Pac-12 this year. This is a Stanford team I don't really expect to be the worst team in the country, but this is a team that's really close to that spot. You know, they're close to being one of the worst teams in the country, but I think they're definitely the worst team in the Pac-12 this year. This team is going to be really young on both sides of the football. I mean, if you look at this team, I mean, obviously coaching staff is a big thing for this team in the offseason. Brand new coach, brand new coaching staff. Stanford just hasn't been the same program, the Pac-12 program, where they used to be back in the early 2010s and early 2000s as well. And they just haven't had that really big quarterback ever since, you know, Andrew Luck. So Stanford, you're really expecting not to see this team really good this year. And I think a lot of people are just picking this team to not win a Pac-12 game this year. And also, I'm kind of predicting that as well. I think Stanford won't win a Pac-12 game this year. Arizona State here at number 11. I have them going 3-9 and 1-8 in the conference. I have them at least getting one win in the Pac-12, and that comes to Stanford, I believe, on the road. They're sitting here at number 11, but I think Arizona State will be better than their 3-9 record. This could be probably one of the best 3-9 teams in the country heading into next year. Arizona State brought in a ton of guys in the transfer portal. I know they got some brand new coaching staff and also some new players, but this team is bringing a lot of guys in the transfer portal. I think this could be very well a really good team. They do have a tough schedule, though. You got the Pac-12 schedule, and then they got to play Oklahoma State on the road out of the Big 12, so that's going to be a pretty interesting game there. They got beat by them last year, so it's kind of like a revenge game there for Oklahoma State. Colorado here at number 10. This is a game that, you know, are actually a team that's going to be really, I don't really expect them to be all that good. And I forgot to mention Arizona State against Oklahoma State, I believe, is at home for Arizona State. So I forgot to mention that. Colorado here at number 10, though. I have them going 3-9 and 2-7 in their first year in the Pac-12 under Deion Sanders. But this is a Colorado team that, if you watch my video from yesterday, Colorado is heading to the Big 12 next year, and that's going to be really interesting to see after spending some time in the Pac-12 over the years. This is going to be really interesting to see where Colorado goes from here, and you got to know what this means for the Pac-12 heading into 2024 as well. But it's all about this season. Colorado, I have them at least getting a couple wins in the Pac-12 under Deion Sanders' first year. I have them finishing 3-9, though, and number 10 here in the standings. Number 9 is Cal here at 4-8 and 2-7 in the conference. Cal is a team that's kind of similar to Arizona State. Maybe Colorado if you want to look at them, but I think Cal and Arizona State are pretty similar. I think both of these teams are going to be really much better than their record that I predicted them to go this year. Cal brought in a ton of guys in the transfer portal as well. This team, though, has a tough schedule as well. You got the Pac-12 schedule, and then you got to play Auburn out of the non-conference in the SEC, and that's going to be pretty tough. But I think Cal is going to be really good, you know, better than their 4-8 record. This team was really young last year. I think they're going to be more competitive than they were last year as well. I got Arizona here at number 8, finishing 5-7 and 3-6 in the conference. I do have them getting an upset win over UCLA like they did last year, and I think they do that once again this season. But I do have them missing out on a bowl game this year just by one game. This is the prediction that I had for them last year, going 5-7, and that's exactly what they did this year. Schedule is tough. The schedule is tough for me, to predict Arizona's record because they do have to play Mississippi State as well out of the SEC. And if you look at 4 of these teams here from 8 through 11, Arizona, Cal, Colorado, and Arizona State, they have, some non-conference games that are going to be tough for them. Arizona State has Oklahoma State out of the Big 12. That game's in the month of September. Colorado starts out the season with 2 straight non-conference teams against Power 5 opponents in TCU on the road and Nebraska at home. Those are 2 tough non-conference games to kick off the season for Colorado. Then for Cal, they play Auburn at home in week number 2. And then for Arizona, they play Mississippi State on the road. So Arizona, Cal, Colorado, and Arizona State all have pretty tough schedules this year, and I think that's the reason why they'll fall at the bottom of the Pac-12 this year. So those are the standings for the Pac-12 from 8 through 12 here at the bottom. Let's now go to the top 7, and number 7 is UCLA. This is kind of where the Pac-12 gets a little bit wide open. You got UCLA here at 8-4, 6-3 in the conference. I think this is going to be a pretty good UCLA team. I think they're going to be pretty decent, probably be that decent team in the Pac-12. They were a dark horse contender last year. I kind of expect them to be that dark horse contender once again in the Pac-12 this season. Utah here at number 6. I got them tied here at 8-4 and 6-3 with the Bruins. The reason why Utah is ahead of them, though, is because Utah, I have them winning the head-to-head matchup. So that's why Utah can, be here at number 6. Utah, though, I kind of expect them to be a lot better than 8-4, but the schedule was really tough for me to predict them to go at least 9-3 or maybe 10-2. They've won back-to-back, Pac-12 championships, from last year to, the year before. I kind of expect Utah to be a lot better than their 8-4 record, but their schedule is tough. You got Florida at home. I mean, at least you get that game at home, but you have to play Baylor on the road out of the Big 12. I think that's their toughest non-conference game there on the schedule. Now, Florida's got a lot of question marks. And I think Utah going into that game will be a big favorite, but I think Utah will end up here at number 6 in the Pac-12. And also, you got the Pac-12 schedule, which is kind of tough. They got some tough road games there on the schedule. They have to play USC on the road on the schedule, and that will be their toughest road game, I believe. So then you got Oregon State here at number 5. This is a team I have going 10-2 and 7-2 in the conference. This team has DJ Ogilvy coming in, the transfer from Clemson. How good of a quarterback can he be for this Oregon State offense? I think offensively, Oregon State's going to be pretty explosive. Defense, though, is what I'm concerned about for the Beavers this year. I mean, Oregon State is a team that I just kind of expect to be a little bit good. I'm not really saying they're going to be very good. I think this could be a team that could probably make it to a New Year's Six Bowl this year, perhaps. But maybe I'm giving them too much hype. Maybe I'm giving, Oregon State too much hype this season. But I think they end up finishing here at number 5. The reason why they're here at number 5 is because I do have them losing to Washington State and Oregon, in the regular season. Speaking of Washington State here, they're at number 4, finishing 9-3 and 7-2 in the conference. Washington State is a dark horse contender, in my opinion, in the Pac-12. I think they're right up there close to the top teams in the Pac-12 this year with Oregon, Washington, and USC. And maybe not on the level of them just yet, but I think they're right up there, maybe where they can pull off some upsets this year. And, of course, they play Washington, in the rival weekend of college football and everything. So we'll see if they can win that game. But you got Oregon here at number 3 at finishing 9-3 and 7-2 in the conference. There's actually a 4-way tie here with number 2. I mean, Oregon, Washington, Oregon State, and Washington State are tied here for number 2, but it came down to head-to-head matchups. Washington is defeating Oregon and Washington State in the regular season. I know they lose to Oregon State in the regular season as well, but with Washington getting a couple wins over Oregon and Washington State, that's enough for me to put them here in the Pac-12 championship. Now, Washington's got a lot of production coming back this year, and so does Oregon. I think both of these teams are pretty similar. Quarterback-wise, you got Michael Penix for Washington, Bo Nix for Oregon. Both of these teams are just very similar. And I got Washington defeating Oregon in the regular season. Now, you're probably wondering where those third losses come to for Oregon and Washington. Well, the third loss for Oregon comes to Texas Tech on the road, and then Washington, for them, it's Michigan State on the road. I do have them at least losing those 2 non-conference games, but when I look back on it now, I have Washington, I think, could beat Michigan State. I think against Texas Tech for Oregon, it will be a tough task for them, but both of these teams, I have them tied here for number 2, but I got Washington heading to the Pac-12 championship here and finishing number 2 in the standings. Then I got USC winning it all here in the Pac-12 standings. I think this team goes 10-2, 8-1 in the conference. I do have them at least losing a conference game there on the schedule, and I'm not sure who I predicted them to lose to in the I think it's probably to Oregon. I think they probably lose to Oregon in the regular season, and I think they lose also to Notre Dame out of the non-conference. I mean, that game is on the road. Could be a very explosive matchup, and I think USC will come up short of going 11-1 like they did just from last year. So USC here, I have them winning it all here in the Pac-12, but they got to decide it here in the Pac-12 championship. And let's now go to the Pac-12 championship here. It's between USC and Washington. This is a very even matchup here between both of these teams. You got USC, the explosive offense with Caleb Williams at quarterback. And you got Washington here, the veteran experience team with Michael Penix at quarterback, and just everywhere on both sides of the football. This Washington team is talented. I mean, they're going to be really good this year like they were last year. This is going to be a shootout here. I kind of expect a shootout here between these two teams. I think it's a really close game to call. I know experience-wise goes to Washington, and USC has had their problems on defense since last year, but that was just their first year. Maybe they're better on defense this year, but USC, I'm still concerned about their defense, but this will be a shootout here, and I think in a shootout here, USC seems to win those type of matchups. Their defense, makes a big stop, and plus, USC is out for redemption and also for revenge to win the Pac-12 this year because they lost to Utah last year, but it's to a different team this year. Maybe it's just redemption. I think USC, though, in a close game, beats Washington. I think USC wins it all this year in the Pac-12. So I got USC winning all the Pac-12 championship and also all the Pac-12 this year. Again, Colorado heading to the Big 12 next year. I mean, what does this mean for the Pac-12? I mean, does it not become a conference anymore? We know USC and USC and UCLA are heading to the Big 10 next year as well. So the Pac-12 is kind of running short on teams. We could really see a big change for next year's season, but other than that, it's all about this season. Like I said, it's about this season. I think USC is going to win it all this year in the Pac-12. I think this is their year where they finally get redemption after losing last year to Utah. So I think USC will win it all. Give your thoughts on these standings / conference championship predictions down in the comments below for the Pac-12 conference. And stay tuned here for more sports content videos on my Lucas Ross Sports channel.